Today, Nigerians are facing many difficulties. But there is a man called Caleb. He encountered such challenge not just once but multiple times in his life. That out of 600,000 men, only 2 men survived. Men do not see with the literal eyes. We see with the mind's eyes. Scientists say that the eyes is like a portal that lets rays of light and colors in. But they say that it is the brain that interprets what the eyes is seeing. They saw the same thing everybody saw. They say this land devours its inhabitants, and it is true. Did they see giants? Yes. But some others saw themselves as grasshoppers. Others says their protection has left them. They are like bread. Let us go up outwards. David was seeing the same giants like everybody. But a transformation that has happened in his mind caused him to reduce him to an uncircumcised Philistine. Whereas others were seeing with the literal eyes that Nigeria is finished, there are some he has given an eyes to see that Africa's morning is indeed at hand. So when they said the land devours its people, it is true. When they say there is anarchs in the land, it is true. When they say there are giants, it is true. It was those descendants of giants that David fought one Goliath. They were looking at the same thing. But whereas others were conducting a physical experiment, they were looking at the economic analysis. Joshua and Caleb started doing spiritual analysis. Hear it. Stop looking at Nigeria the way you look at it. Get to God and ask Him, what is your plan for this country? What are you saying about this? And begin to say the things He's saying. I can't believe that anyone has gone to God and He told him that Nigeria is finished. Today, Nigerians are facing many difficulties. But there is a man called Caleb. He encountered such challenge not just once but multiple times in his life. Caleb, the man who hid God in his heart. Welcome to day 24 of our 32 Days of Governance Masterclass series. We gladly welcome you to day 24 of Boqer School's 32 Days of Governance Masterclass series. Today we are looking at Caleb, the man who hid God in his heart. It is not optional. You can't choose. If you are allowed to choose, I know you won't choose it, but you are not allowed to choose. Once you are a leader, every leader without fail must at some point in his or her life face a near-life damaging experience, a near-life damaging obstacle. An obstacle, when viewed from your own viewpoint, is inherently bigger than the leader. If it's in the game of Tetris, you remember when you keep surmounting obstacles, eventually you get to the boss, and you must conquer the boss for you to get to the next level. So every leader, indeed every human being, but because this is a leadership class, we are particular about leaders, that every leader must in his lifetime face a challenge that either kills him, damages him, or he wins. If he doesn't win, that challenge will limit his impact, and we said that it is not optional. And so when we talk about this kind of challenge, we're not talking about the kind of challenges that one can overcome, with 2 hands in the pocket. There are problems that come into you, you just wave it off. You can just breathe it through. Though these are not the kind of challenges we're talking about. We're talking about the kind of challenges that can force one to settle. The kind of challenges that can force one to abandon his vision. The kind of challenges that can force one to move away. The kind of challenges that if the care is not taken, it can swallow the life of the man. Today, Nigerians are facing many difficulties. But there is a man called Caleb. He encountered such challenge not just once but multiple times in his life. But we're going to isolate only one time that he encountered a challenge. And then we're going to find out from his own personal account how he overcame that challenge. Because you know the story. When Moses led them out of Egypt, God told him, count the people. And after counting the people outside of the tribe of Levi, and they counted every male from 20 years and above, and it came to 603,350 men. These are 350,000 603,000 rather, 350 men. Caleb, the man who hid God in his heart. So why are we studying Caleb? Because he encountered a challenge that out of 603,350, so say 600,000 men, only 2 men survived. When they left Egypt, God told them, have a census, don't count the women and the children, but every man from 20 years and above, don't count the tribe of Levi. So if you included the count of the tribe of Levi, I'm thinking that it should get you to 650 or 670, but they were not counted, so we don't want to speculate. But of everybody adults that left Egypt, only Joshua and Caleb survived it. How did they survive? And how did they even encounter? What kind of problem did they encounter? So let's go to the scriptures to find out so that we can build from there. I think we should start from Numbers 13 verse 26. This was Moses after sending the spies to spy out the land of Canaan. Meanwhile, if you read these accounts from Numbers, you will find where the Bible says, and God told Moses to send spies. If you read the story from the account of Deuteronomy, you will see where the people says, we don't want to go, let us send spies first. So what had happened was that God told them, cross over into the land, overtake the land, take over the land, cross over and possess it. And then they started saying, how can we cross over? Why can't we just send spies? And when they did that, God told Moses, since they want to send spies, send spies, and they sent 12. Joshua and the man who are studying today, Caleb, was one of the 12. So verse 13, 26, they have finished spying out the land, they are now bringing back their reports. Now they departed and came back to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. Then they told him and said, we went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the mountains. And the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the banks of the Jordan. Then Caleb quieted the people. Before Moses and said, let us go up at once and take possession. Let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. Caleb quieted the people and said, let us go over at once and take it, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants, the descendants of Anak came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. Chapter 14. So all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron, and the whole congregation said to them, if only we had died in the land of Egypt, or if only we had died in this wilderness. Why has the Lord brought us to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should become victims? Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt? So they said to one another, let us select a leader and return to Egypt. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. But Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes, and they spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, the land we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. Their protection has departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them. And all the congregations said to stone them with stones. Now all the congregations said to stone them with stones. Now the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle of the meeting before all the children of Israel. Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will these people reject me? How long will they not believe me? With all the signs which I have performed among the people, I will strike them with pestilence and disinherit them, and I will make you a nation greater and mightier than them. This is where we will stop for now. So the story was unfolding. They came out from the land of Egypt with the strong hand of the Lord, signs and wonders, and then they came to the point of taking over the land, and they hesitated. And they said, we can't go in. Let us first of all go and find out what it looks like. That's the first sign of unbelief. And then when they eventually went in, out of the 12 people that were sent, and this is where our class starts, they brought back different results. They saw the same thing, but brought back different results. You see, men do not see with the literal eyes. It is not these eyes that we see with. In fact, in our adage in Igbo language, they say, these literal ears that you have is not the one you hear with. The eyes we see with is inside. We see with the mind's eyes. Scientists say that the eyes is like a portal that lets rays of light and colors in. But they say that it is the brain that interprets what the eyes is seeing. So when you look at something, your eyes can only see, but it is not with that eyes that your eyes is only seeing colors, spectrum of colors, pictures. But it is the brain that interprets those pictures that the eyes is seeing. You will remember that man that Jesus healed. And he asked him, what do you see? He says, I see men as trees. So he says, come back, your healing has not been completed. What had happened there was that the man's eyes had been perfectly healed, but his mind cannot interpret properly the pictures the eye is seeing. So it's possible for you to see a man, but it will look like tree. Because it is not with the eyes that you see. The eyes only let in rays of light, but the mind interprets the pictures. And that is why two people can be looking at the same thing, and they can be interpreting it differently. Now, the eyes is the same, but the framework of interpretation is now different. And this is what is happening in the story we just read. Did they see giants? Yes. But some others saw themselves as grasshoppers compared to the giants, and we will come to that. Others says their protection has left them. They are like bread. Let us go up at once. When a man begins to walk with the Lord, when a leader is recruited by God, one of the very first areas God deals with is to transform the mind of that leader. One of the very first, it is in fact, if not it is the first transformation of the mind. Because he will not change the pictures you are looking at, but he wants to change your interpretation of the pictures. He will not first change the situation, he wants to change your interpretation of the situation. Because God first changes you before he changes the situation. So when a man walks with the Lord, one of the first areas to receive grace is the transformation of the mind. And that is why this mind renewal, as referenced in Romans chapter 12 verse 2, you remember where Romans says, "And do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God." So this mind renewal changes the situation by changing the person. I need to explain this point even if it's for a minute. So many times we want the situation to change, but the process of changing is that the situation first, God changes you and through you changes the situation. So He renews you want all the giants to fall down and die. He gives you an eyes that reduces giants to ants, and then He will deal with them. You will still be staring at the same images, but He changes the mind that interprets them. Because if He doesn't change this mind, you will still be seeing men as trees, although your eyes can see, but the mind is not able to interpret the pictures. So when you begin to walk with God, when a leader has been recruited by God, one of the first signs is that the things others say is impossible will suddenly become possible to you. So if left for us, we will prefer that God makes giants smaller and He makes us bigger. But that's not the way He works. We will prefer for the giants to become smaller and then we become bigger. They become underdogs before we can now say we will take them. But that's not God's choice. God will keep David small and keep Goliath bigger and stronger. But He then changes David's mind so that when he looks at that giant, he can reduce the giant. And one of the first things we're going to touch this evening is reduction method. Reduction method is a proof of a transformed mind. We will prefer that God makes giants smaller, that He kills all of them and make us bigger. But He doesn't do that. What does He do? He only makes us look at the giants differently. We see the same picture everybody sees. We see the same giants. David was seeing the same giants like everybody. But a transformation that has happened in his mind caused him to reduce him to an uncircumcised Philistine. Whereas others were seeing with the literal eyes that Nigeria is finished, there are some He has given an eyes to see that Africa's morning is indeed at hand. Different interpretation. It is called reduction method. I will get into it and I'll give you maybe one or two scriptures to prove that reduction method. So if you read Job chapter 22 verse 29, the Bible says, "When men are cast down, thou shalt say there is a lifting up." You see, the thing is this, that when we see that both the man who says that there is a casting down and the one who says there is a lifting up, both of them are looking at the same picture. They are looking at the same picture. The man who says there is a casting down is looking at a particular set of data. The one who says there is a lifting up is looking at the same thing. They will not change. It's the same thing. But they all interpret it according to the degradation or the transformation of their mind. You see, I hope you don't think that Jacob and Caleb and Joshua went into the land and they didn't see giants. They saw the same thing everybody saw. They said this land devours its inhabitants, and it is true. It is true. What they saw is true. They weren't lying at all. Because God told them, anybody that will live in this land must live according to a set pattern. If you start committing iniquity in this land will reject you. That was why even when they possessed the land and started committing those things, the people they dispossessed were committing, the land started rejecting them. So that was the terminal decline, because God had been warning these nations, but they wouldn't listen, and God brought Israelites to push them out of the land as a punishment. But before Israelites could come, the land had started rejecting them. So when they said the land devours its people, it is true. When they say there is anarchs in the land, it is true. When they say there are giants, it is true. It was those descendants of giants that David fought one, Goliath. People who are thrice as tall as ordinary men. One of them has 6 toes, 6 fingers. 6 toes, 6 fingers on each of the hands and the legs. Giants in the real sense of the word. They were looking at the same thing. But whereas others were conducting a physical experiment, they were looking at the economic analysis. Joshua and Caleb started doing spiritual analysis. Hear it. Hear what they said. The land we passed is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, He will bring us into this land. Do not fear the people of the land, for they are bread. Their protection has departed from them. So this man went and started doing spiritual check. Whereas others were seeing giants, Joshua was seeing this giant is empowered by an entity. And after checking, he saw that the demons that are powering this civilization has run away. And so you are seeing the chaff on the surface. He was still big. But the engine room had gone. Their protection had gone. Immediately we entered the land, the protection left. That's how a transformed mind sees. If you find yourself complaining that they are selling for 1,000, it is proof positive of the level of your transformation in that regard. If you keep saying Nigeria is finished, it is as a result of your transformation in that regard. And I hope you know that transformation is in phases. We're not saying that you're not born again. You are. But you see, the thing is this. When you begin to walk with God, your life is compartmentalized. Let me say this. Your life is compartmentalized. Meaning that God could have helped you to overcome the issue of smoking. But maybe in the area of giving, you still don't give. So that transformation you have achieved in the area of quitting smoking, you may not have achieved it in the area of giving. And so, the thing you achieve with smoking will not automatically translate to giving. Someone may give with all their hearts, but when they see women, so although they love God, they have not achieved transformation in this area. The transformation they got in the other area is valid, but it does not automatically apply to this area. Someone can know God the healer, and so anytime they have headache, they can call on Him, He will heal them. But that does not mean they yet know Him as the provider, so they will live in lack. Someone may know God as the Savior, and He will save them and they will go to heaven. But if you don't know Him as the provider, you will be in lack. So some people can achieve transformation. They don't smoke, they don't womanize. But when it comes to national transformation and what God is doing in their country, they are totally blind. And so when I say that when you begin to complain like the others, it is proof positive that you have not achieved transformation. It does not negate the transformation you have achieved in other areas. It just means that for this particular area, work needs to be done. And if God is going to use you to change the situation, He has to first of all change the eyes with which you look at the situation. Their protection has left them, says a spiritual man. The carnal man says that they are like giants. We are like grasshopper. Nigeria is irredeemable, says the carnal. The man that has achieved transformation in the area of governance will begin to see things differently. The same giants, the same situation, The same set of data, it is the same set of data, the same CNN, the same Arise TV, the same channels, the same news that people read, that's the same one we read. We look at the same situation, the same circumstance, the same giants, the same difficult situation, the same recession, the same fuel price, the same Tinubu, the same Buhari, the same Tinubu Pro Max and Buhari times 2. The same persecution, the same affliction, the same end bad governance, the same end SARS result. But a renewed mind interprets these events differently. So when you hear people say, oh, things like Nigeria is irredeemable, the situation is hopeless, there's no need trying, the election has already been rigged, it is impossible to throw bad governance, and they throw the good. Those statements may appear to be factually correct to a conformed mind, but a renewed mind sees things from God's perspective. One of the things you will get from this class is that God will renew your binoculars. He will renew the eyes with which you see. Stop looking at Nigeria the way you look at it. Get to God and ask Him, what is your plan for this country? What are you saying about this? And begin to say the things He's saying. I can't believe that anyone has gone to God and He told him that Nigeria is finished. That thing you're saying, where did you hear it from? The Bible says he's a liar, he's the father of lies. From the day one, he has been lying. If God wishes good for this country and you are saying bad about it, you heard it from somebody. And I can tell you for sure that person is not God. And although you call on the name of God, when it comes to societal transformation, you are an apostle of the evil one. Unknowingly recruited to spread his message. Unknowingly recruited to make it popular, to advance his kingdom. And the thing is that they are doing it without pay. They love God, but they are working for the devil. Numbers chapter 14, verse 20 to 24. After Moses has pleaded, then the Lord says, I have pardoned according to your word. I have forgiven them according to your word. But you see, as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Because all these men who have seen my glory and the signs which I did in Egypt, in the wilderness, and have put me to the test now, these 10 times, God was counting. Every time you curse Nigeria, God is counting. And have not heeded my voice, they certainly shall not see the land which I swore to their fathers, nor shall any of those who rejected me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him, and has followed me fully. So there is such a thing as following God partially. And there is such a thing as having a different spirit. Now pay attention to who was speaking. This is God speaking. So we now see from the position of God that there was something Caleb hid in his heart that caused him to see things differently. God said he has a different spirit in him and has followed me fully. I will bring him into the land where he went, and his descendants shall inherit it. If you join them to be saying Nigeria is finished, eventually Nigeria will work, but you will not see it. When God shows himself to one, he's hoping that the outcome of that encounter is the renewal of the mind. God is targeting your mind. Because he will change things at his time, but he wants to first change you. When he showed up for you in school, he's expecting that you learn that he is bigger than your school fees. When you had a problem of 1 naira, he solved it. He's expecting that you know that he's bigger than 1 naira. So it becomes offensive to God when we keep reacting the same way to situations each time they come up. It will indeed be sad, and nobody here can say that they have not experienced the miracle of God. And you know the funny thing, God is counting. And usually he counts up to 10. That thing he did for you in university days, that miracle, that thing he showed up for you when your daughter was about to die. He showed up for you when you saw he is. You may have lost count, but he doesn't. The best accountants, I keep telling people, are in heaven. They keep record, in fact, let me tell you this. Do you know that Facebook keeps records? Every post you have seen on Facebook from the day you started Facebook to now, Facebook keeps record of all of them. They know the ones you scrolled past. They know the ones you watch for 2 minutes. They know the ones you watch for 10 minutes. From the very day you registered your Facebook to this, they keep accounts of everything you've seen. This is Facebook. Heaven's accountants are more dangerous. Every sermon you have ever had in your life, God keeps account. He knows. Every time there is a deposit of God in your life, they write it down. Every time a miracle happens for you, it is written. Every time he shows up for you, they write it down. Even if it is 1 naira they give you, they write it. You remember when Jesus said, if you wicked servant, wouldn't you have put the money in the bank? So he knew how much he gave him. And he was calculating, he was abreast, he knows the interest rate. He says, if you had put this money in the bank, the interest would have come up. So every talent, every grace, every miracle. And so when God gives you a miracle, when you're about to swallow, life is about to swallow you, and God gives you a way of escape, He's expecting that you will remember when next life is about to swallow you, so that you don't react. But the thing that God is angry with is that you had problem 1, you panicked, problem 2, you panicked, problem 3, you panicked. And in all of these problems, He came through for you eventually. Yet each new problem you react the same way. Eventually when it gets to 10, He will count out. It will be sad if after God has, and if you want to count, maybe this night, ask God to remind you of the miracles. Ask God to remind you of how you were seeking for admission. Ask God to remind you when you needed 20,000 naira. Ask God to remind you when you sought for a visa. Ask God to remind you when you needed partners. Ask God to remind you when you were at gunpoint. And He keeps doing things for you. But every now and then, any new challenge you meet, you get back to the default position. As if you don't have a history with God whatsoever. It will indeed be sad if after God has miraculously provided for us in school or any other place, or even allowed the problem to persist, but showed us that we can make progress despite the problems. There were problems you begged God, you cried, God solve this problem, He refused. But after a while, you found out that the problem was not solved, but you are alive. There were problems like that in your life. Take an audit. You thought it would kill you. In fact, you think that if you don't solve it, all of a sudden you notice that the problem is still there, but you have moved on. What happened? You became bigger than the problem. So sometimes He removes the obstacle, sometimes He allows it to be there. So if heaven looks into our lives and sees that the same way we panicked when we met situation of yesteryears is the same way we panic now, it shows that we have not yet renewed our minds in those particular areas. Now, that does not mean that you are not saved, but on this particular issue, your mind is still damaged because it has not been renewed. It's still conformed. But my servant has a different spirit. He has a different mind. He has a different binoculars. He sees things differently. He sees giants and calls them bread. So those guys were walking majestically. I can imagine. Imagine when you are passing a giant, they will look down at you. What is this boy? What are these people, funny people doing here? What are these funny 12 people doing here? And that's why they said that they were like grasshoppers. But when you are looking at Joshua and Caleb, they will be looking at you with another spirit. Have you noticed that both the man who says that there is a casting down and the one who says that there is a lifting up, they both eventually turn out to be right? 1 Kings 2:28. Then the news came to Joab, for Joab had defected to Adonijah, though he had not defected to Absalom. So Joab fled to the tabernacle of the Lord and took hold of the horns of the altar. And King Solomon was told, Joab has fled to the tabernacle of the Lord, where he is by the altar. Then Solomon sent Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, saying, Go strike him down. So Benaiah went to the tabernacle of the Lord and said to him, Thus says the king, come out. And he says, No, I will die here. Watch what he said. No, I will die here. And Benaiah brought back the word to the king, saying, Thus says Joab. Thus he answered me. Then the king said to him, Do as he has said, and strike him down and bury him. A man ran to the highest place of safety, ran inside the temple as they were pursuing him. He committed something that is deserving of death, yes. But he ran and went and held the altar. And when the soldiers that were pursuing him went there, he said, Come out from the church, let us in. He says, No, I will stay here. But he added one more thing to it. He says, I will die here. And they left him in the church and went back to the king who sent them. And they said, The king, he said he would die. He says, Go and do as he has said. He is in the highest place of safety. Watch what you say in the days of adversity. He was in the safest place possible, but he was betrayed by his words. The safest place he could be was where he was. Was there a problem? Yes. When we say that Nigeria will not remain like this, or we say that Africa's money is at hand, better. If you don't say anything than to say the contrary. Because whatever you say, you will be right. Remember when the prophet told the man, a bushel of wheat will sell for this amount tomorrow. He says, even if God comes, he says, you will see, but you will not partake. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, Numbers chapter 14, verse 26. How long shall I bear with this evil generation who complain against me? I have heard the complaints which the children of Israel make against me. Say to them, as I live, says the Lord, just as you have spoken in my hearing, so I will do to you. Anything you say, you see first, you perceive it, and you then say it to his hearing, he will do. If you say our own is finished, just write your will. May not happen in 5 years or 10 years, but your own will be truly finished. Watch what you say in the days of adversity. Don't let situation change your words. Hide something in your heart, and we will get to that. Just as you have spoken in my hearing, I will do to you. The carcasses of you who have complained against me shall fall in this wilderness. All of you who were numbered according to your entire number, from 20 years and above, except for Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun, you shall by no means enter the land which I swore I will make you dwell in. But your little ones whom you said will be victims, I will bring in. They shall know that the land which you have despised. But as for you, your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness. Remember when the prophet said to the king's servants who didn't believe in God, say you will see it with your eyes, but you will not enter. Don't join them in despising Nigeria. Don't elevate your feelings above the word of God. Don't elevate your logic above the word of God. Make sure that everything you are saying per time concerning any situation is what God is saying on that situation. Don't call the man who God wants to kill. Don't tell him you won't leave the person. In fact, one of the fastest ways to die is to be in the vehicle with someone that God wants to kill. Don't be supporting someone that God is against. But also don't be against someone that God is supporting. Make sure that before you pronounce judgment on anything, you seek to know what God is saying concerning that. Know what God is saying about Africa. Know what the prophetic time is and align your words with that. Angulate your mind. Don't elevate your feelings. Don't elevate data. Don't elevate economic reports. Don't elevate logic above the word of God. It is not as if the word of God is irrational. It is only irrational to the mind that is conformed. You see, it's only illogical people that will see God and think He's illogical because they are conformed to this world. If you renew your mind, you will begin to see things from His perspective. And we'll discuss a few of those before we close. By the way, when people say that it takes an irrational man to serve God, you see, man has to learn a little bit of humility. Because I see people say, I trust in numbers, I am a numbers person, I am a metrics, a logical person. Inflation is at 38%, unemployment is at 44%, the cost of living is this, is that. I'm a numbers person. And therefore they think that they are logical and God is illogical. So if they look at the numbers and they look at what God says concerning the situation, and they say that God is irrational, and they are, you see, between the creator of the whole universe and man, I ask you, who is more rational? Between God who created heaven and earth and you, who is more rational? How can you, in your own little arrogance, think that your own view is the rational view and God's view is the irrational view? It shows how degraded the minds of people are. And if this is defining you, begin to cry for repentance and ask Him to give you a new pair of eyes. Don't call what I have called blessed accursed. Don't. I see people who think of themselves as wiser than God. They think God is illogical, but they are logical. God is not wise, they are wiser. He asks, shall He who created the eyes not see? Shall He who created the eyes, God that created the eyes, you are telling God that you can see better than Him? Shall He who created the ear not hear? How can you think that you can hear things better than God? If I were you, I would look at things from God's perspective. Before I label any matter, I try to know what God is saying. Not what my eyes are seeing, because my mind may not be transformed, so I might be complaining like every other person. Find out what He's saying about that situation. So how do I renew my mind? The fastest way to renew the mind is by recollecting. To remember past victories, to remember what God did for you, how He saved you. How you survived Abacha, how you survived IBP, how you survived Idi Amin of Uganda if you're from Uganda. Many people here forgot that they survived Abacha. Of course, you will say things are not that this difficult. They were not said, I agree. But like the game I mentioned earlier, the difficulty is increasing, but have you also noticed that your capacity is increasing with the increasing difficulty? I mentioned to you how David fought. He first of all killed the lion. He killed the bear. He killed Goliath. I was telling you, Goliath is the least of the battles David fought. The least of them is Goliath. After Goliath, he began to fight strange battles. Did you know that Goliath had 4 cousins, all more powerful than him? Did you remember that there was one day they were fighting? One man in David's army killed 300 people in one day. The battle got tough. All his soldiers fled. Just few stayed. And David stayed. He continued fighting. One of them kept fighting until the sword and his hands glued together. That's it. Did you know what this guy did to take Jerusalem? From the time they crossed over the Red Sea in Joshua till the 17 judges, even Samson could not take Jerusalem. None of them. Samuel could not take it. Eli could not take it. Saul could not take it. It was David that fought. In fact, fighting Jebusites is like fighting today's America. It's like Biafra fighting America. That's what David did, and he took over the city. Go and look at what the Bible says, the kind of military equipment they had. They had not been defeated in any battle for nearly 400 years. This man defeated them. But you see, he didn't start with Jebusites. He started with what? The lion. So as the battles were increasing, the man was increasing his strength. You are supposed to be increasing his strength with increasing difficulty. It's not the same exam meanwhile, if you talk to people who are in kindergarten now, they will think that their exam is difficult. Once you enter primary 1, if you talk to primary 1 people when they are going to write exams, they will think the exam is difficult. Until you enter primary 3, you will think junior WAEC is difficult until you enter senior WAEC. After that, you start doing first year. After that, you will think until you do your masters. At each level, it is increasing in difficulty, but the man is increasing in competence. So when you see the problems increasing, it is not meant to swallow you. You are supposed to subdue. I tell you, there are men who are gliding through this. I remember one day, did God that helped me kill the lion? That's what you will be saying. If you look through your lives now, you will see the lion. The Lord that helped me on this day, the Lord that helped me on that day, the Lord that is David's strategy. He always remembers. Do you know what he told them when he saw Moses? When he saw Goliath? God that killed the lion and the bear. But you have forgotten how God helps you with the lion and the bear. That is why you are now standing before Goliath and you look like a grasshopper. If you remember how you killed the lion, something will swell up in you. God that helped me pass my passing 6, pass my junior work, pass this, did that, did the other. Begin to call on him and remember what he did. If you meditate on the nature of God, on the character of God, on the full features of God, Goliath is only big to a man that does not have God. If any time you look at a giant, it appears big in your eyes, it shows that you're no longer looking at God. I remember one of the days I was flying through India. I can't remember. I think from one part of India to another part, I think we spent more than 4 hours in flying from one part of a country to another part of the same country. And we were flying in the night. And you know Indians love bright lights. And I was sitting close to the airport and close to the window. And I felt as if I said, let me just look down. I looked down. You see a cluster of lights, and then you see darkness. So what had happened is, for instance, if you are flying through Abuja, let me use Nigeria to give this instance. If you are flying through Abuja, you will see cluster of lights. That shows you that you are in a city. And when you pass that city, you begin to see darkness. Until maybe you are flying past Lokojana, you see lights. And after that, darkness. And then after 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes of flying, you begin to see cluster. So anytime we fly over a big city, those big houses begin to look like tiny candles from there. And I felt the nudge in my heart, and I asked, is it possible for one man to own all of this city? I felt God was asking me. And I said, no. We passed another city. He says, even the richest man in the world, can he own all of this city? Is it possible that the richest man in Nigeria can own all of Abuja? Is it possible that one man can own all the properties in Abuja? Is it possible that one person can own all the properties in Lagos? The city where you now live in, go around the city. Is it possible that one man can own all the city? I said, no. He said, I own the entire universe. Oh my God. Maybe you need to have that experience before you realize sometimes it is in such experiences that the Bible comes alive. You know, when lawyers ask you questions, don't be in a hurry to answer. Because he was asking me, I was answering until he said the one, I done shut up. Did you know that science says that the earth, Google it, this earth that we live in, this whole earth, I've told you, one man cannot even own one city. I've told you that. This whole earth, scientists are telling us that it can fit 1.3 million times inside the sun. If you get the whole of the earth, America, Antarctica, you everywhere, you get all of these things, planet Earth, you can fit 1.3 million earths inside the sun and it will take it. This is the sun alone, not God, the sun. I want you to see how small your problems are. So if you view the earth from space, the earth is only a dust. Have you noticed that the largest building in Abuja, once you enter the plane and take off, it will look small. But the higher you go, the whole earth, when you view it from the sun, it looks like a dust. You can't even see it. It's a dust from the sun, not from God, from the sun. Now take that dust that is called the earth and divide it into 7 billion times. Of course, you know there are 50 billion birds on earth. 50 billion birds, 7 billion human beings. You count the fishes, count the trees. But let's assume that we ignore all of those things and focus on man. So the man is occupying the space on earth. This earth can fit 1.3 million times inside the sun. Now take that small earth and divide it by 7 billion people. That shows you how small you are compared to the sun. That shows you how small, that 10 million that is worrying you, that shows, you are not comparing it to God. You are comparing it to one of the creatures of God. Now let me also show you. The Bible says in Revelation, and one angel was given authority over the sun, and he stood on the sun. So an angel can stand on the sun, which means the angel is superior to the sun. One angel. Another one says that one angel came. One of his legs was in the sea. One was on the land, but his head was in the heavens. These are creations of God, not God. So if you compare you to God, no, I know that giant looks big. Compare him to the sun. Compare him to God. So if this giant is looking big in your eyes, you've taken your eyes off God. So one of the ways we call it reduction is do a comparative analysis of a problem. So when you see a giant, don't compare yourself to the giant. Compare the giant to God. If you can't measure how big God is, just use the sun that we know its size. See how the giant, this thing you call a big giant, compare it. I've told you, one man cannot own. This God says, I own all the things. I own the cattle, I own the fishes, I own everything. Can the richest man in the world buy up your country, buy up your city? So what we call reductionism is called comparative view of a problem. So if you are looking at this problem, you want 20 million now. If you are looking at 20 million, it becomes big. If you compare 20 million to your God, it becomes small. Have you seen how we slay giants? Are you seeing how David slays giants? So when Caleb was saying they are like bread, we will eat them, he is talking about compared to God, these guys are like bread. In fact, he was so generous to call them bread. They are like dust. They can't stand. One angel from God went into the camp of an army and slew 180,000 soldiers in one night. I've been meditating. I'm not into weapons manufacturing, but people who are into weapons manufacturing, if you ever find out what that angel did, you will be able to manufacture weapons that can kill 180,000 people. Because I've been thinking, okay, was it gaseous poisoning? Did he poison their water? Did he seize the air? What did he do to take out the lives of 180,000 people in one night? And when the guy woke up, he saw that 180,000 of his army dead, and it was one angel, not two. Many people have not seen God. That's why they think their problem is big. They say Nigeria is irredeemable. You don't know God. By the way, you don't even know history. Sometimes it's poverty of education. You may have had master's degree, but you don't know history. Let me say this in closing. Do you know? It takes just 40 years to transform any nation. Just 40. I will give you instances. It takes less than, no nation has ever done more than that. You see, the children of Israelites can stay 400 years in the wilderness, but they can secure their freedom in less than 2 weeks. Did you know it was less than 2 weeks from the time Moses says, let my people go, to the time they left? So the thing with problem is that sometimes it persists. It stays so long, but once it begins to receive attention, it receives instant attention. So you can stay 400 years in slavery and can get your freedom in 2 weeks. But the thing is that because this person has seen a 400 history, if you are telling him something is going to happen in 2 weeks, he says it can't happen. Okay, you say, Chima, stop quoting the Bible. Let us quote history. How many years did it take them to build America? How many years did it take them to build Britain? How many years did it take them to build France? Okay, these ones are too distant. Maybe you have forgotten. How many years did it take them to build China? Is it not this China that you saw in the 80s, in the 70s, that hunger was killing? How many years did it take them to build Japan? How many years? Middle East. This Middle East you are seeing, UAE, Dubai, Arab, all of those places in the Middle East. It takes 40. Nigeria can get transformed in 40 years. Guess what? If that 40 years starts counting from today, you will be alive to see it. And usually it doesn't even take up to 40 years. Because things will get so bad for so long, but immediately that morning breaks forth, things change so rapidly. Look at how things have changed for China. Look at how things have changed for Malaysia. Malaysia and go, but Malaysia, they came to Nigeria to get palm oil. Today, Nigerians are queuing in the visa in the embassy to go to Malaysia. Today, people are answering Odogu Malaysia. Malaysia, that was coming to borrow money from Nigeria. I tell you, it's because you've not studied. Apart from studying the scriptures, God has given me a grace. I study nations and civilizations. I see how radical. So don't say that nations, what I'm saying is that they might stay in darkness for 200 years. But once that morning comes, give it 40 years. He doesn't even reach. Look at what David did in Israel. David became king at 30 and died at 70. In 30 short years, he built the best civilization. Till today, Israelis are looking back to get, that's why they don't believe in Messiah. Because they are looking for a one that will do for them what David did in 30 years. In 30 years. And so Nigeria is only one president away from being good. One, not two, one. I tell you for a fact. One that can partner with God. Just one. Now, it can take you 50 years to get that one, but once you get that one, and then the thing is that 50 years may have elapsed, and you will not know. You keep saying it can't be well. The thing is that when it will be well, you will be there. So how did Caleb do it? Let's go to Joshua chapter 6. I'm giving you the account of Caleb from two perspectives. I've given you his account from God's perspective. God says he has a different spirit. Every one of you here have a different spirit. Acquire that spirit. Acquire it. Get a different spirit. And he has followed me fully. He has followed me fully. Don't follow God half partially. Don't like God in terms of going to church, but when it comes to Nigeria, I don't. No, God is interested in the whole man. In the entirety of the man. You, your life, your personal life, and your society. So if God is interested in your society and you're not interested, you are following him partially. And you may get results where you're following him, but on those other areas that you're not following him, you will not get results. And so you may love God, but you may not see the new Nigeria we're talking about. You may not see the new Africa. Don't exempt yourself. Don't exempt yourself. Watch what you say in the days of adversity. How he survived the situation that killed 600,000 people. And out of 600,000 people, only 2 people survived. You need to pay attention to those 2 people. Even if the whole of Nigeria finishes before the new Nigeria, there are people that will survive it. There is always a remnant. Count yourself among them. Even if a war breaks out in Nigeria, there will be people that will... Don't say insecurity. Insecurity is not everybody that can be killed. Are you aware living in Borno State, and that will leave them and go to UK and kill people. But they are living in Sambisa. After Boko Haram, people will survive it to rebuild that land. I tell you this for a fact. Don't mind the insecurity in the southeast. They will not kill everybody. They will not kidnap everybody. Don't mind the fuel. Even if it sells for 5,000, people will be alive. Did you know that Germany that you are seeing, in time came, Germany was selling one loaf of bread for 6 billion francs. One loaf of bread. Germany, this Germany you know, and this is not up to 120 years. Read. It's because people don't know his. This Germany that you see now, I think Germany is in the world power, maybe top 8 or top 10. Did you know that inflation was so high that a loaf of, you need 6 billion naira to eat your breakfast? 6 billion of their money. Today. And those things change in less than 40. Let's see what Caleb said about himself. So Joshua chapter 14. I think it's Joshua chapter 14. Is it verse 4? Yes, it is 14 verse 6. This is where this man is giving out the most prized secret of his life. Pay attention. This is how to survive any adversity. Joshua 14. Let's start from verse 6. You know the word which the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, concerning you and me in Kadesh Barnea. He was 40 years when this thing was said. He is now 80 years now that he's telling the story. You know the word which the Lord said to Moses. I'm reading from Joshua chapter 14 verse 6b. You know the word which the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, concerning you and me in Kadesh Barnea. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of God, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I brought back word to him as it was in my heart. That's the secret. I brought back word as it was in my heart. Nevertheless, my brethren who went up with me made the heart of the people melt, but I wholly followed the Lord my God. Two secrets. I brought back word as it was in my heart, not as it was in my eyes. Let's replace that heart with mind. So he has already transformed his mind before he went to the battle to spy out the land. Actually, what they saw was what was in their hearts. Now, the thing is this, there's a philosophical question, I will not ask it here. But are pictures real? What you are seeing, is it real? Many times what you are seeing is as a result of what is in your heart. That you have been told that this color is red. So anytime you see something that looks like it, you call it red. What if you go to another country and that thing you call red, they call it blue? That's the thing with language. Because there's a particular thing you call water in your language. But immediately you leave your town and go to the next one, that thing you call water, they call it something else. So it is the same thing, but they have a different name for it. That is the same way. This man had already proposed in his heart. It was, if we had the time, I would have shown you through another scriptures, another man called Achan. When is the best time to train a soldier? Is it in the battlefront or before them? You need to hide something in your heart before you meet a difficult situation. If that thing is not in your heart, you will be saying like every other person. Be talking like. And the thing with talking foolishly is that it saps you of energy. Have you noticed that the people who complain the most about Nigeria are the ones who can't lift their finger about Nigeria? They can't even get their PVCs. They can't even do the minimum required. And every time you see God working in a land, He does that in partnership with men. There are men and women God will change this country. God will not come down from heaven. Indeed, if Chima is here, God doesn't have to be here. But the thing is that the person that is supposed to fight the giants in Asurok, they won't go down without a fight. But the person is seeing himself as grasshopper. How can God have such a person? So He begins by bringing you to a class like this where He will hope that your lenses will be changed. He begins by telling you, transform this your mind, renew your mind. Begin to study civilizations. Begin to study. Begin to see how I worked in nations. Begin to equip yourself. Put something in the heart. If you don't put something in the heart and you go to the petrol station, if you see the pump price, you will have a different confession. But those of us, we put something in the heart, and when we see the petrol price, we say something different from what every other person is saying. There is something in our hearts. Let me tell you this, there is the purpose of God in adversity. Maybe this is the last point I'll make. There are a lot of things to say, but let me stop it here. There is the purpose of God in adversity. And that is why things usually get so bad before it gets good. Do you think the young people of Nigeria would have voted P2B the way they voted him if they were still buying fuel at 87 naira? No, they will be playing football on the election day. But the adversity has mobilized Nigerians. A nation that suffered years of military dictatorship, our parents learned silence, non-participation. They were not active in the society. And they could afford it. Because you buy a bag of rice, you eat food, you may not have money, but at least you are living well. But today, the adversity is forcing Nigerians. Who would have believed? Would you have believed if someone, a prophet, told you in 1999 that Nigerians will come out to protest? Would you have believed it? If a prophet came to you in 1999 and told you that in less than 30 years, Nigerians will pour out on the streets to protest, you call that person a liar. How did it happen? Through hunger. Nothing mobilizes a people than adversity. The thing is that you think Nigeria is spoiling. Nigeria is about to be good. Because a time will come, the people can no longer be, because they are restless. No food, no water, no fuel. There is no option other than to push out the bad government. And we're getting close to that. But the thing is that you don't see how close we are to victory. You don't see it. And this is not motivational speech. It is in civilization. How did French Revolution happen? Which is, by the way, not a very good example. But how did it happen? Every time things get so bad, suddenly it turns good. A time will come, you don't have to tell Nigerians come out and protest. They will come out on their own. You are telling Nigerians today, don't sell your votes. Don't worry, let hunger deal with them. A time will come, nobody will tell. They say they will kill me. What if I protest? They will kill me. You will see, insecurity will be going from house to house. So the person is even safer on the streets than in the house. Insecurity will come to that point, then Nigerians will stop insecurity. Oh no, they are killing one people, no problems. Wait, you will see. But when these things are happening, just know that God is moving. He says, when you hear the sound of the mulberry trees, know that I have gone ahead of you. It is not God that is causing this pain, but the pain is ultimately everything will work together. You can't defeat God's purpose. You can't. That is how they thought they were killing Jesus Christ. They thought they were killing him. How did it turn out for them? They thought they were killing the early apostles. How did it eventually turn out? That the more they persecute them, the more the gospel was pushing out. This is the same thing. The more the government of Nigeria is trying to be vicious and wicked, wait for Nigerians. No, but a time will come, nobody will tell Nigerians, vote right. Don't vote based on tribe. You see this tribe, that is this tribalism, the hunger will defeat it. Not this kind of hunger. The real hunger is coming. Eventually, maybe after one more president, it will be clear to Nigerians that tribalism cannot work. You don't have to preach. Hunger is a good preacher. You tell people come and they say they will arrest me. Don't worry. Fulani headsmen are coming. Today, people can no longer travel on the highways. They will leave the highways and come into streets. And then Nigerians will be mobilized to stop them. Because everything Nigeria needs to fix Nigeria is already in Nigeria. Just that those people are docile. So when fire is pushing, so there's gradual. So if you ask me, don't call me, if you ask me, we are praying for petrol to quickly get to 5,000. And the thing I hate about this is that they are increasing it gradually. What I want is for them to increase it to 5,000 in one night so that they will hear from Nigerians. And one day they will be foolish enough to do it. Because they are getting reckless by the day. They see what is happening. The lawmakers are still buying SUVs for themselves. They see what is happening. They are buying private jets for themselves. They are doing all of those things, not because the people are defeated. The more they do, the more they provoke the people. That anger will come to a threshold. And I want you to see this. If you don't see this, you will join everybody to say, the poor is getting poorer. What will the poor masses do? Get away from that talk. You're not the poor masses. Those people you've been preaching to, vote right, vote right. Another education is coming to them now. It's called education by fire, education by hunger. You know, when P2B lost the elections in 2023, people were saying, do we protest, do we not protest? Another time will come. If they steal elections in Nigeria, Nigerians will burn down the country. Because they will say, is it this thing that we'll do for another 8 years? No, we can't try it. You better kill us now. Either we defeat this man or nothing. There is no, both of us can't stay in the same room. It will get to that. And I want you to see that even through adversity, it is working towards God's purpose. You need a new binoculars. You need, anytime you hear rice is now 100,000, keep praying that it keeps getting. Of course, God will keep strengthening us to survive it. And if you have, help those who don't have. But ultimately, since we allow this bad leadership to be, it will be us that will pull them down. But we don't want to pull them down by consensus. So we will pull them down by necessity. They say necessity is the mother of invention. We are going to invent a new governance model in Nigeria. It is called good governance, and it will be out of necessity. The Hausa man will still become Hausa, the Yoruba man will still become Yoruba, but hunger will force him to drop his tribe. Insecurity will force him to drop his tribe. Because the person where they are alive, they do tribe now. I want you to see that all things work together for good. Have a new lens. Have a new binoculars. Stop complaining. Stop nagging like every other person. Renew your mind. Ask, what is this thing doing? See from heaven. Even they are saying, Japa, 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 all the youths are going, oh my God, you don't know what God is doing. You are just flying blind. These talents that left Nigeria will come back, all of them. And they are coming back with gold. They are coming back with expertise. Look at what India diaspora is doing to India now. A time came, Indians were emigrating in their droves. Today, Indians are now sitting at the tech. Do you know that almost all American tech is empowered by Indians? And today, India is doing a policy to bring people back. Do you know that China is doing a policy? If you are serving in such strategic positions, they are now doing policies to invite their people back to all those things they've been doing in America. They've learned in Stanford, in MIT, come back to China. And they are giving grants. Once your research work is good, grants. I tell you for a fact, this generation that you see running away, some will die there, but a lot of them will come back. If they don't, their children will come back. Every nation is, most nations, they are diaspora. Look at what diaspora Israelis did. And also, God is sending out emissaries. God is sending out evangelists. It was the turn of the West to come and evangelize Africa. Now they've lost the focus. God is sending back Africans into their land to evangelize them. So if you find yourself there, find out what God is doing. Find out the problems of the land and begin to solve it. You are an evangelist, you are a president. The way they brought gospel to Africa now is the turn of Africa to bring back the gospel to them. Because they've lost it. They've clearly lost it. Yes, there is still, you know, it's not when they turn off the fan that it stops blowing. Many of these countries in the West, their civilizations have been cut off. It's just that the fan is not, any ceiling fan or even standing fan, it's not when they turn it off. Sometimes it can still be rotating for another 50 years. Other times it can rotate for 70, depending on the strength and the resilience of the civilization. Don't think that a house just crumbles one day. No. It grinds to a grinding halt. So today, God is sending back emissaries in their droves, pushing them. So find out what God is doing. Even in the midst of adversity, God is still doing something. The devil may think that he's winning, but look at the effect. In 1999, people will not send you. They will be in their houses complaining. Today, they are coming out in the streets. Very few though. If you give this kind of madness another 10 years, all Nigerians will be on the streets. Even old women will be on the street protesting. That is where we are. And you know that once that happens, Africa's money will break out. Because then we put the kind of president we want. And the president will be answerable to the people. Because if they don't answer, they will be brought down. I want you to see what God is doing. Get a new lens. Renew your mind. You have a role to play. But the thing with this deficit mindset is that you feel so disempowered. Even the small contribution you are supposed to make, you will not make it. The one you are supposed to do, you will not do it. Because you feel so disempowered. It is because you are looking at the giants. Stop looking at it. It took God 2 weeks. Is the problem of Nigeria worse than the problem of Egyptians and Israel in Egypt? It took him less than 2 weeks to bring them out. I tell you, Nigeria is only one president that can dare consequences, can damn every consequence. And Nigeria will be rebuked. You say it has taken us from 1960 to this. If that one comes. But then we can't even be waiting for that one. All of us here can form a mighty nation. You can be doing your own bit, slaying your own giant. Another person is slaying, Chima is slaying, Indamona is slaying, Osot is slaying, Joshua is slaying, Bamiga is slaying, Lucius is slaying, Nara is slaying, Uchen is slaying, Benedict is slaying, Livingstone is slaying. Become them, find your giants, kill them, and mobilize others to kill theirs. Don't join them in cursing Nigeria. You can't curse Nigeria, you can't curse Africa. You can only exempt yourself from what is about to happen. I pray that God gives you an eye that sees. Hide God in your heart. Caleb is the story of a man who hid God in his heart. And so he sees as God sees. He thinks as God thinks. He speaks from heaven's perspective. Others are saying, pump price is 1,000 naira. He's saying they're mobilizing God's people to come out. Others are saying insecurity is happening everywhere. Can this mess? They're saying we're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there. Africa's money is at hand. I'm waiting for them. If they are foolish enough to raise the price of petrol to 5,000 tomorrow, you will see what will happen to that government. But the terrible thing is that I think they are wise, but one day they will run out of wisdom. So the next thing they will do, they will increase it to 1,002. And then if you complain, they bring it to 1,1. And then they will gauge for another 3 or 4 months, increase it to 1,5. If you talk, they bring it to 1,3. That's what they are doing. But one day they will run out of wisdom. And that's the usual arrogance that goes before a fall. Because something is telling them you've conquered Nigerians. It may not be him that his government will topple. It may even be him. But you see, our politicians are getting more arrogant by the day, getting more brazen by the day. I saw a borehole in the news that they said they sank this borehole for 32 million naira. They are getting brazen. They don't even steal with finance again. There's open daylight stealing. It's open. They are doing it. They are mobilizing. So they will keep doing this. Or their fall will be sudden. Say, mark this thing. Write it down. It will be sudden. And the transformation will be rapid. It is the way it happens from civilization to civilization to civilization. Go and study China. Go and study Singapore. Go and study the Middle East. All the nations in the Middle East. Go and study them. Go and study, or even after the war, go and study the depression. Go and study. Just go and study. Even if it is the Bible, study the Bible. It is people who don't know history. When they find them, they think that they are the only ones that are experiencing the problem before. You are not. You are not. I've told you, Germans were buying bread for 6 billion. Research it. This is not like, no, it was a recent thing. Research it. Read Eric Bonhoeffer. There's a man called Bonhoeffer. Find his biography and read. You will see what was happening in his time. Today, look at where Germany is. I tell you, Africa's morning is at hand. There is a tide, and once it comes, how you will know? There's a book coming out. It's called Africa's Morning. What that book will do to situate Africa in the context of the world. A time come, it was the West, and the whole of the West was. Today, that tide is lifting the whole of Asia. It's lifting the whole of Asia. And after Asia, it is coming to Africa. And once it starts, it is not one African country. It will lift the whole of the country. That even the least one will be as strong as David. Have you noticed that even the worst performing Asian country is doing well? There's a tide. There's a tide. Once it starts, it lifts the hook. It lifts the whole people up. It's coming. It's near. It's even here. It's not as if we're talking about 300 years. It's here. We will experience it in our time. But you need to believe it. You need to see it clearly. Something is happening in Africa. See God even in the pain. The pain is betting for things. Do you think this youth unemployment will continue? No, sir. No, man. It will not. A time will come, the engine will knock. It will become evident that the engine has knocked. Since our leaders have refused to hear word, I am praying that they rig the next election. I am praying. We will fight against it, but if they succeed, they are now getting us closer to the D-Day. The high youth unemployment cannot continue now. The suffering cannot, you know it cannot, it's not sustainable. It's not. It's not sustainable. If you push people they are pushing people, we're getting close to the wall. If we get now that close to that wall, people will push back. See things differently. And this is for nations. But what we've said here, you can apply it to your personal life. I've said the other day that people are usually forgetful, and it is only forgetful people that giants can kill. The problem you are experiencing today is as a result of the gift of God. If God did not give you that visa, you will not be looking for a house in a new city. If you did not get admission, you will not be struggling with the lecturer. If you did not graduate, the unemployment will not be a problem. If you did not get employment, your supervisor will not be a problem. If God did not give you a car, you will not have a flat tire. You are talking about petrol because you have a car. You are talking about the cost of living because you are still alive. If you are not living, the people that died yesterday, do you think they are worried about cost of living? Anytime you face a problem, so you can never get to the Red Sea if you are still a slave. The people who were in this, they didn't know that the Red Sea existed. It was not a problem until they were freed from slavery. Someone that is facing the Red Sea cannot be hungry. It was after they crossed the Red Sea that they found out that they were hungry. It was after they have eaten, they found out they have not drunk water. It was after they saw water that they found, if you did not see water, you will not even know that it is bitter. Every problem you face today in your personal life is as a result of the preceding victory of God. Even these prayer points you are praying today, if God answers it, problems will come out from it. You are asking God to give you a new company. If you get that company, your employees will be a problem. You will need funds to sustain it. If you achieve that, you will need, so if you marry, you will need God's grace to sustain the marriage. If you have children, so if you don't have children, you will have the need to provide for them. So don't be nagging when you have children and you can't provide for them. Call that God that gave you the children and say, you gave me children, I thank you, now give the food. If you have a car and the car becomes faulty, call the God that gave you the car and say, thank you for the car. Why am I always having flat tire? Thank you for this wife you gave me. Why is this? Because if you didn't have a wife, you will not be nagging about your wife. Don't nag about your problems. Thank the God who gave you the miracle and ask him to continue what he has started and to finish it. If God ever showed up for you in any way or form, document it. Keep thinking about it. If he gave you 10 naira, he can give you 1,000. If you give you 1,000, he can give you 10 million. Have you not noticed that as the economy is getting tougher, God is strengthening some people? When they sold a bag of rice for 8,000, they were able to afford it. Now they are selling it 80 something thousand. They can still afford it. Don't complain. Don't complain. Don't complain. Yes, if you have to, manage your affairs, if you have to be better at planning now, better at strategizing, better at doing your budget, better, no problems. But in fact, this is even, the more they increase the fuel, let us increase your drive to make money. The more the cost of living is getting, don't say what will the poor people do. Get away from that poor people, you're not them. But help them. So the more you now, okay, if for instance, it takes 1.5 million to run your life every month, but because of cost of living, it has now shot up to 1.9 or 2 million. That means that your income can no longer. So what you have to do is to increase your earnings. So run faster than inflation. Run faster than exchange rates. Run faster than the price of fuel. Run faster than the energy cost. God can give you speed. God can give you speed. But if you keep complaining, if you keep nagging, it will sap you of energy. By the mercies of God, we will teach energy levels tomorrow. If you accept, if anything happens, we